Hello everyone and welcome to the Unisys ClearPath webinar series. Today's topic, Business Information Server, Release 12.1, 12R1. Let's get started. Our speakers for you today are Thangathan Panasamy, Product Manager for Unisys, and Vishwanatha Swamy for Biz Engineering for Unisys. And with that, Thangathan, the audience is yours.
Thank you so much, Matt. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. So I'll get started with highlighting what's the agenda for today's webinar. The agenda for today's webinar is that we'll be starting off with looking at some of the highlights of this new release, and then we will look at the release schedule in terms of the upcoming releases. And then my colleague Vishwa will be providing a detailed product update. And then towards the end, we will talk about some of the white papers and videos which we hope you'll find useful. So we really here to talk about BIS and some of the new features in this release. So the BIS team is really excited about this new release, and we hope to share some of this excitement here. So with that, I'll get started with the summary of this particular release. So in this release, we are delivering a total of 60 new features, of which 25 of them are generated by our customers. 42% of the new features are based on the new feature suggestions from you, our customers. As you can see, a number of features are coming from you, and we're pretty excited about that. So I would like to highlight about the BIS product family. So we have the 48R1 on the OS 2200 environment. We spoke about the 48R1 new features last week. And then we have the BIS 12.1 on the Windows. The BIS General Purpose Edition, which is typically used for the production environments, it basically runs on the Windows 2003 and 2008 R2 and on Windows Server 2012. And then we have the BIS Additional Personal Edition, which is typically used for the development and test environments, and it is typically used for a single user kind of environment. So the BIS Personal Edition and the client tools such as the graphical interface for BIS and the developer workshop, they are supported on Windows 7 and Windows 8. And to be very specific, Windows 7 and 8, we support the professional and the enterprise editions. The BIS 12R1 for Linux, we basically supported on the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5 and on the SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 11. And 12R1 is also supported on Oracle Solaris 10. So this slide kind of highlights provide some of the highlights about the new features and enhancements that we bring with this release. So a number of features have been focused on delivering increased productivity. There have been a number of administrative enhancements, and there have been features focused on getting a more intuitive development experience. So in terms of the increased productivity, we have some of the features like deferred update add, which basically provides an extension to some of the existing deferred update capability. It allows us to add individual reports to an existing DFU list. There are new features to overlay block of lines in the report, and there are options for the overlaying data to come from a variety of sources. There have been enhancements in the update result as well, so that now we can use search and update and calculate and update as well against the result. There are if statement enhancements that we may be able to perform to do a string comparison. And from an administrative enhancements perspective, there are new features that allows you to input the database sizes for both the master and the result files during installation. There is the ability to upgrade the clients as well, such as the GIVs and the developer workshop during the server upgrade. And there have been enhancements in the developer workshop as well in terms of features such as the code assistance feature for both JavaScript and BIS script, and then allowing the ability to open a script in read or write mode and switching between the two modes as well. And of course, there are many more features and enhancements that deliver increased productivity. My colleague Vishwa will be talking about in more detail in the next section. Before we move on to the next section, I would just want to highlight about the release plans that we do have. So BIS 12.1 and 12R1 is expected to be available in Q2 2014. Would also like to highlight the fact that, unlike the previous releases, where we had the 11.1 in the BIS 11.1 for Windows in 2010 and BIS 11.1 for Linux in 2012, it was all like almost on separate years. We are happy to see the 12.1 and 12R1 to be coming closer in this release. And of course, with the BIS 48R1 as well, it's much closer to the BIS 48R1 release as well. I would also like to point to the fact that the BIS engineering support for the release 10.1 and 10R1 will be coming to an end in a few months, soon after the availability of 12.1 and 12R1. So for all our customers in 10.1 and 10R1, please plan for your upgrades, and please do reach out to us for any support that you do need. The slide also shows some tentative dates for the BIS 13.1 and 13R1. Please note that all the future dates are subject to change. With that, we move on to the next section, where we plan to provide a detailed product update, and my colleague Vishwa will be doing that. Vishwa, over to you.
Thank you, Sangha. Thanks for the information provided. With that, we'll start with the feature sets and the enhancements that we have done for the BIS 12.1. Hello and good morning all, and a very warm welcome to the BIS 12.1 feature webcast. The agenda of this webcast is to take a deep dive into the new features and enhancements that we have done for the BIS 12.1 and its associated components like the GIBIS, installation, and developer workshop. We have introduced 8 new features for the BIS 12.1/12R1 besides enhancing the existing functionality. Along with that, we have also added the features that align the functionality of BIS 2200 with OpenBIS 12.1. We'll give you a moment to just go over the slides. We'll start with the additive referred update. This feature will provide the capability to add individual reports to an existing referred update list or create an entire list altogether newly. We have introduced 2 new run commands to achieve this task. The one is the additive referred update DFA add and the DUL. The additive referred update DFA will add the reports, individual reports, to the existing list or create a new list so that we can add the referred update reports at the runtime. And the DUL, we have the DUL command. This will unlock the reports which are under the referred update, and those have not been updated since they were added into the referred update list. Note, all the referred update reports will still be committed and decommitted through a single CMU or the DCU operation. The CMU is the commit and the DCU is the decommit operation. Also, along with this, we have enhanced the feature that enhanced the add report and the duplicate report to handle the newly added report through a DFA. So when we specify a DFA with the add report, it adds the report in memory so that only a commit or a decommit, only a commit will be able to save the report as a permanent report. A DCU will be discarding the report from the in-memory operation. And similarly for the duplicate report as well. We have provided 2 new reserved words, namely the DFU lock and the DFU ACT. The DFU lock will contain the number of reports that can be locked under the deferred update list. Note, we can modify this option or modify this value from the map admin, where we have the DFU, the max DFUs that can be locked. And the DFU ACT, these are the actual number of reports that have been updated that are in the DFU list. So when we place a report in the DFU list and make some changes to that report that are in the DFU list, that this would give the number of reports that have been actually changed. Also, I would like to add a point over here. We have brought in a new mechanism called the deadlock detection mechanism. This will provide an add-on capability for the deferred update list where it can detect a probable deadlock situation and avert the deadlock situation. With that, I'll go to the samples. The example describes the DFA with a negative timeout. The negative timeout value indicates it would not wait any time. It would basically acquire the lock immediately. If it's not available, then it would fall back to the label and go to the error routing. Similarly, we can specify a timeout value of 0 that indicates it's an unlimited timeout, and the positive value, it would wait for the specified timeout interval. We'll go to the next one, the block overlay statement. The block overlay would overlay the reports with a requested report or the literal data or the variables or from a YANK buffer and other information. For this, we have introduced 3 new run commands. First one is block blank overlay, the block copy overlay, and the block put overlay. Let's start with the block blank overlay. It's a run command that will overlay a block of lines with a predefined number from the report 0 of the drawer, or can be specified as a variable or a literal data. The block copy overlay is a command that will copy the block of lines from an issuing report and use them to overlay the block of lines in the receiving report with an option to blank out the source report, the source lines in the issuing report. The next one is the block put overlay is a command that will copy the lines specified from the YANK buffer and use them to overlay a block of lines in a report or a result. Note, we can use @lny, the run command, to copy the YANK buffer and then use that buffer when we are using with the block put overlay. Here is an example for each of the run commands, the BBO, the BCO, and the BPO. We'll go to the next feature. The new feature is the date $21. This feature will provide a new date format for specific purposes. For instance, if you want to use a new date format to show it to the end user, where he wants to check date in a format of DD, MMM, and YY format. That's like the sample given out here is that's today, 29th Jan 14. We can use the date $21 format with DC, date, and different other options. The next one is the format column. The format column is a new run command and a manual command that will provide a robust capability to manipulate the data within the report to the requested format. So the format column will allow a user to either left justify the column, right justify the column, or align its center. Along with that, we provide capability to modify the first letter of the word to an uppercase, or the whole word in an uppercase, or to a lowercase, and vice versa. The next slide will show the sample that basically modifies the output with the proper formatting, and it will show the output in the requested format. For instance, we are changing the formatting of the product key and sub key. The first one is we are left aligning the product type with left align and making the first character to the uppercase. And the next one is we are aligning it to the center and making to a lowercase. With that, we'll go to the next slide. This is a new feature called the name list. The name list feature will allow predefined reports and drawers and a range of drawers to be worked on with commands like search, sort, calculate, FTR, and others. This capability will be available to the BIS users through a manual command and a run command. This can be integrated in the BIS work. We have introduced 2 new run commands, name list and NAM LSD and the name dump. So there are 2 types of name lists that can be created. The first one is ad hoc name list and the static name list. As the name indicates, ad hoc name list is an active name list that can be created at the runtime, and once session terminates, the ad hoc name list will be gone. So what's an ad hoc name list? We define an active name list as a global property of the unit, which will not exist until the name list or name name list is created, or we can create the ad hoc name list with an A option to the run command at NAM LST. Any script or the manual command can use the active name list and can be superseded or can be deleted at runtime. Manual users may also use the active name list created by the script. That's been left over. The next one is static name list. We use the manual command name to create the static name list, and this name list that is created will be used by the manual and the script commands as well. So the static name list can be stored, and then it can be retrieved at a later point of time as well, and then used. The next slide shows a sample name list that's been created on the 2B0 report and renamed to -3, and then we do a search operation on it, and then we display the output. The next feature is the rel rename. The rel rename command will disassociate a report, the results report, from a rename value and put it back to the free pool. What does this mean? So once we can create -1 to -16 results reports. Those reports will be used in the run statement, and once we are done using those reports, we can delete them in the same run script, and then use them for a different purpose at a later point of time down the line. Here is a sample that will demonstrate the usage of the rel rename, where we have provided an option of releasing a single report or a bunch of reports at the same time. The sample, as we see, the option -2:3. This specifies the range of reports that can be released at the runtime. So for instance, if I specify a -2:3, we remove the reports -2, -3, and -4 from the rename list, and then put it back to the free pool. The next a new feature is reserved words for the at call command. We have added 7 new reserved words to be associated with the at call statement. Namely, we have the call A drawer, call cap drawer, call GRW, call line, call LVL dollar, call NAM dollar, and call RPT dollar. Basically, we have enhanced or added a new feature to the at call statement, where you can leverage the use of at what call level the user is at, or what's the call level if a user wants to see, as we know, we have 40 call levels at any given point of time. So if we have to restrict a user to a 20th call level, and then see which call name he is trying to execute, or which call name, which call drawer is he in at any given point of time. So we can use all these reserved words for our purpose. The next slide shows a sample that will demonstrate the use of all the call reserved words. We have used two run reports, basically 2A0 and 21I0. 2A0 is a call test report that's been registered, and the 28I0 is the report that we call the call test. As you see, the call test 28I0 calls the call test at 001, and then that outputs basically all that required information. For instance, call A drawer is an I report that's in the 28I0 that's being called, and 0 is the cabinet, and 20 is the drawer information that's an octal, and so on. The next slide shows the new feature called the session global results. This is one of the major features, I would say. This functionality will allow script to leave more than one results active when it terminates. These results would be available to the subsequent scripts to be executed on the same unit, but would be discarded by a session termination. So the session global results will be used by the same unit and will be terminated once the session goes off. The session global results will also be provided from an access from the Java client that's using a BIS, where you can leave a session and then that will be taken over by the next session and then used for different purpose. We have added two new run commands, namely sgput and sgget. First one is session global report put, a run statement to save the copy of the report to the session global report table, and the sgget, the run statement that retrieves a session global report that was saved through sgput run statement. We have also added two new reserved words called SGR max and SGR ACT. The SGR max presents the number of session global reports allowed, and then an SGR ACT will give the current number of current session global results that are active. The next slide shows the example of how we can use a session global put and a session global get and use for our purpose. In summary, we have added 8 new features with new run commands that will help in writing the application in an efficient way. The next set of slides will show us the enhancement that we have done for the BIS 12.1. The binary find, no find, continue. We use the binary find statement to find character strings quickly in one or more large reports or ROIs to get the number of strings, statistics, and their count. Whenever an BFN finds a no find, when it does not find any requested information and the label is specified, it automatically jumps to the label and then goes to the error routine. So we have enhanced this feature only when we don't have the label specified to it. In this case, there is a slight change in the behavior. When there is no branch label given, there will be no change. When the branch label is not given, we set an error statement and then say the error encountered would be like data not found, and we still continue with the execution to the next run command. We don't error out. But the stat1 and stat2 variable will be updated with the details of the error that has been encountered. Basically, only one kind of error that we would be ignoring is the data not found error. That's for the no find continue. The sample demonstrates the usage of BFN when we don't have the requested string in the report. Now we'll go to the next enhancement called the compare strings with @if. We have added a new option called the S option under the current if statement, where this will leverage the use for comparing the substrings. The substring comparison can also be done along with the case and no case comparison. The sample below just shows the one with the no case comparison and the one with the case comparison. We'll go to the next slide. That's the enhancement to the @diag feature. The @diag feature is mostly used while debugging the run statement that has an unhandled error in it. So we have enhanced the @diag statement with more capability to provide more information to the user of what kind of error is it, on what level is it, and what call level had this failed. Okay. For this purpose, we have added two new options to it. The one is J, and the other one is the N. The J option will show the recent jumps in the run statement, and the N would narrow the display to 78 characters and give us an output. The next slide demonstrates the usage of the J option along with the RER and the @diag. Note we have given an option for @diag with 0, F, That's the option to specify the jump history information. The below output just shows the jump history information that has been called from the label. That will go to the next enhanced feature, the date support for the match function. Currently, the match and the match statement, MCH, the manual MCH and the run command MA are used to compare the data in one or more fields of the reports, optionally copy data from the issuing to the receiving report. Current match function provides very limited capability, so we have enhanced the match function to provide more capability so that you can compare between the different date formats. For instance, I have a date 1 format, date $1 format, and in the first column of the first report, and I have a date 7 format in the second report of 7th column, I would say. So we can always compare these two date formats, and then we can optionally move the data as well from a date. I would say I would give an example of date 2 format to a date 10 format. So when the data is being moved, we have to just know that the data that's being moved would fit inside the column width that is specified, or if not, we would be replacing them with the stars. So the run statement will just demonstrate the usage of the @match statement, MCH of 24A0, and then the issuing report, and the 25A0, the receiving report, where we are comparing the 13 to 18 columns in the 24A0 to the 29 to 8 columns in the report 25A0. As we can see, we have used 1Y7 and the 1Y6 format to compare, and while moving, we are moving the A1 format to the AY format, and this would display the output in the required format. Then we'll go to the next enhanced feature. That's the end of month function. The end of month function is extended with an option M with an N, where N represents the different date formats. For instance, we have all the 21 date formats that's available to the end of month functionality. This end of month capability will be available through @DC, @DAT, date, or the @cal statements. The sample below demonstrates the usage of the @DC with the usage of @DC, where we have given an input of date $7, and we are using to convert that to a date 11 format, and output in the output that's given as out1 of S18 characters. So the @DC of M11, so the input of date 7 in this case date 7 April 21, 2010. So and the output would be generated is 2010-0430. That's the 30th of April. That's the last day of the month in the April. With that, we'll go to the next enhancement, EOM tag for the @PRT. What's an EOM? EOM is an Unisys application that manages the document processing. It can process or organize the printers queued the doc in different formats, and then it can propagate and save the data in different formats of PDF, email, or we can even queue the information to the printer and then use to print. So we have enhanced the feature @PRT to allow the EOM tags, where we'll be adding a new keyword to the @PRT with the $EOM to specify the EOM understandable taglines. We can provide additional information through a preamble report, which can be used which can be fed to the EOM application. The preamble report is an addition to the PRT command, providing header instructions for EOM to understand and carry out the requested operation. For this, we have added 3 new options to it: the pre-C, pre-D, and the pre-ask. That's the cabinet provider and report information, where we will be storing the EOM specific commands, so that once we send the information to the EOM, that would understand the EOM, understand the format, and then print the output, or queue it to the printer, or it can send an email, or it can generate a PDF statement out of it. That we'll go to the next enhancement. That's the file name for print function. The current print function will generate a file name with the standard mapper, and the machine name and the site name. So this would not be helpful for large enterprise users, where they're printing the information and they don't have a way to check which user had sent the information. So we have enhanced this @PRT, where you can specify the file name as an input option to it, and then so that we can identify which user or which station has sent the information along with that, and then based on the file name that's being sent as an input to the printer, we can either prioritize or cancel the printing of the reports. So we have added a new option called as FN to the PRT, where if you don't specify the option FN, that's the file name, it would the default fallback to the mapper, that's the string mapper of the hyphen, the machine name, and the site name. That's the generic one. Now we'll go to the next enhancement. That's the LS. At LST, we have increased the maximum number of the record size. Currently at LST, it can load a maximum of 32,767 records in the list box. This would restrict some of the users with limited set of elements in the list box. So we have enhanced to provide it with a 1 less than a million records in the list box, so that we can leverage the use of all the entries in the list box at one shot, and then users can select or multiple selections possibly. This sample just shows the single selection. The next enhancement is to the app BRK. The app BRK is enhanced to take input of the number of lines as to the output. So we have enhanced this feature to allow the minimum lines for an output area. What this means is, for instance, I have to generate an output that contains a minimum lines of 30 lines, I would say, and my present output just generates an output of 20 lines. So the next report or the next processing information would expect that to have a 30 lines. So we can specify an BRK statement saying 30. If the data is just filled with 20 lines in the output, we can add the other 10 lines with a blank information, so that we at the end we have just all the 30 lines available to the next set of functions to process the information. The next enhancement is to the pass renames via artcall. We have added 3 new keywords that can be accepted in the artcall parameter list. The first one is RNM, RNM send, and RNM receive. Where RNM send passes the value, passes the results report that has to be renamed and that can be accepted in the subroutine. When the subroutine returns the current results report in the current result report number in the caller statement, that we can, for instance, I can give a sample. Like I have sent RNM of -5, and then that would be received as a -10, not as a -5 in the callee. And then once I make changes to the -10 report in the callee, and return back the statement. So the -5 report that has been in the caller would also be updated with the latest information that has been updated in the callee. What RNM does basically is called a call by reference. So you're sending a reference of that rename report, and then that report would be updated in the callee and return back. The next option was RNM send. This would send results reports within the format of -1 to -16. That's the max results reports what we can have. So what RNM send does is we'll send the report as, I'll give an inference, we'll send a report as -5, and that can be received as -10 report in the callee. And once we make changes of -10 report in the callee, and then we return back. So there will be no change in the report -5 that has been sent from the callee. So what RNM send does is it just does a call by value, as RNM does a call by reference. The next one is RNM receive. RNM receive always sends a void report, just a void report, a rename report that does not exist. That's a valid rename report, I would say, from -1 to -16. That's the max rename reports what we have. And then this will be available. This can be used in the callee, and then make changes to that, and then you can send back as a rename report to the caller back again with the updated information. Note, All this functionality is not applicable for the JavaScript right now. The next slide shows sample of the way we can use all the RNM receive, and RNM send options. With that, I'll go to the next enhancement, the result output drawer. The result RSLT, the manual command, and the RSL command are enhanced to specify the output drawer for the report. We have added a new subfield called as the RC and the RD. The RC stands for the output cabinet, and the RD stands for the output drawer. If the RC and RD are not specified, then the output would be generated based on what the input cabinet and drawer information are as it works today. Also, we have added a new warning message that will be displayed when there is a truncation of data. For instance, I have given a report width of 80, and then I'm giving an RC and RD of 32 characters. Then there will be truncation of data. So we provide a warning message saying conversion to the requested drawer has caused the data to be truncated, which user can just see the message so that it will be useful in case like there's a data truncation. For instance, if we want to have data truncation, for instance, I have an application that requires data, or the maximum data width is of 10 characters. So we can use a drawer and a cabinet information of 10 characters, and we can just truncate the data, and only the 10 characters of data will be passed to the next run statement or the call statement to process the information. With that, we'll move to the next enhancement. It's an @wait milliseconds. Basically, @wait is a run command that will allow the script to freeze the session and then suspend the run for the specified time interval. Previously, the @wait used to wait in the number of seconds specified. For instance, a user has specified 1,200 as the input to that wait. It used to wait for the nearest index value of one second. So we have enhanced this feature to wait for the exact number of seconds that is provided as input from the user. For instance, if I specify 1,200 milliseconds as an input, that wait will wait 1,200 milliseconds rather than 1 second as previously. The next enhancement is to the update result reports, as Tanya was mentioning, where you can do an operation on the results of search update, match update, and call update on the result reports. So we have enhanced this feature of update results. Previously, we could do the search update, match update, and cal update only on the permanent reports rather than the result reports. So we have enhanced these operations to be carried out on a various of result reports. For instance, I can do a result of 2B0, and then I can do a search update or a match update or a cal update. So we can do a result of, we have a restriction of the, I would say a restriction of the result reports. It would allow only one result reports to be changed at any given point of time. We cannot have a nested result updates. What a nested result update? Basically, we have changed a result report called -1, and then we have updated it to say the column 5th. We cannot toggle between the previous result report of -0 that was already there to the -1 that's been propagated. So you can't have the results. You can't basically toggle between the older report and the newer report. With that, we have completed all the server components that have been changed for the BIS. We'll go on with the GA-BIS session, the GA-BIS enhancement. The GA-BIS is enhanced to copy the scripts that were used from the older version to the newer version. What does that mean? We had brought in user-specific data with a GIS 5.4 version, where we can store the scripts for a particular user within his own user directory, where we had a restriction from the Windows OS as well, where he did not have an access to all the other folders. So we have enhanced this in the 5.5 and the later versions, where users can specify the data directory where he wants to move all the scripts from one version to the latest version. For instance, I have installed 5.4 in my previous level, and then I'm upgrading to the 5.5. Where in 5.4 I have around 10 scripts that have been created for different sites. When I install 5.5, I have a capability where I can export or import all the scripts back to the 5.5 user directory, and then you can still use all the scripts that are available from the 5.4 to the 5.5. The next set of enhancements are pertaining to the installation. The first one is database size option. The database size option is available only with the fresh installation, where we can specify the size of the master and the result file in terms of blocks that can be created. Or we can always fall back to the default size with a button saying the default database sizes. So once we specify the number of blocks that needs to be created to the master file, we just key in the number of blocks that will be given to it, and then those many blocks will be converted to the number of bytes, and then a data file called master file will be created, and similarly a result file. The next enhancement is to the installation, where the GIS and the developer workshop could automatically be upgraded along with the server upgrade. So we have provided two checkboxes saying automatically update the GIS and the developer workshop, where we are installing or upgrading the server installation. So for instance, we have installed 11.1 on a server, where we are upgrading the server to the 12.1. So you will be provided with a input box for the GIS and the developer workshop, where you can check the checkboxes and then click on the next, and then that would automatically update the GIS and the developer workshop. The next enhancement to the installation is the silent installation. So this provides a capability for the user with zero intervention. So the user may not have any intervention of next or keying in any information. So how is this achievable? So this will provide a capability to record the installation process and store as a file at once. So for the first time, for instance, we have 100 servers that needs to be installed with the fresh installation. So what we can do is, on the first server, we can just record the session and then store that recorded session as a file, and then save that file. So that file will be keyed in as an input to the next 99 sessions, or the next 99 installations that will be installed. So in the second server, where we specify this as a result as an input file, and then key in, so that this will take the input as the stored recorded file, and then continue with the installation process, and similarly on the other systems. So this will be helpful, as I said, in a place where we're trying to install on a large system. The next set of new features or enhancements are to the developer workshop, wherein we have added several enhancements to facilitate user-friendly debugging of the reports. The first one is opening a script in edit mode. You can open a script or a report in edit mode if you have write access, or you can toggle between edit and view modes using edit menu option on the status bar at the bottom of the main workshop window. The next one is automatically rebuild a BIS script label table. When we open the BIS script and make some modifications, we are prone to not build the label table, but the developer workshop takes care of it now. So for instance, if I have edited a script and then made fewer modifications like adding few lines or deleting few lines or adding few labels or deleting few labels, and then I can rest be assured I'll just save file and I'll have the label table built and saved automatically. That's a new feature of the developer workshop. And the next one is the code assistant feature. For those who prefer keyboard to mouse, you can now turn on the code assistant feature for both JavaScript and the BIS script using your shortcut keys. As we know, the BIS has a wide set of run commands. So code assistant would be helpful for the newer generation of people who are hired into the organization and they want to be trained. They can always use the code assistant feature and then write a code so that they have the 0 errors at the starting. The next slide shows the auto window and the debug call stack enhancement. This has a new feature for the debugger feature. The auto window displays the variable associated with the current and the previous execution. What this does is this lets you keep track of the variables that have been changed at runtime. Auto variables values can be changed when we are in the debug mode. So we can update the auto variable with a value called X or a Y if we are in the debug mode, and then continue with the execution with a new changed value. The debug call stack window enhancement. You can now switch the context of the call stack to different call levels so that the new variables in the result from the selected call levels can be seen. We'll go to the next slide on the developer workshop feature list. We have added watch window enhancements. Watches can be added directly to the watch window. You can change the name of the watch. You can change its value when in debug mode. There is also an option to change the language of the watch. So these are the enhancements to the watch window. Working with JavaScript or viewing the dataset, I would say. Working with JavaScript, you can open the dataset as well as at the final result that's been written as a dataset. The new workshop will allow you to change the context of the variables during the debug session. So, while we are debugging through a JavaScript, as we know, it works with the datasets. So we can see the dataset that's being generated at the runtime, or the dataset that we want to return from to the callee back again. And also this will help in this will have an enhancement of change the contents of the variable during the debug session, as we have told about the auto window already. The next set of enhancements are setting a line breakpoint, setting a variable change break, modifying conditional breakpoint conditions. A condition can now be added to a line break, so only on a condition true you can break it. If a line breakpoint has a condition, then the break is executed only when it happens if the condition is true. For instance, I have put up a breakpoint at line 10 where a variable should be, when a variable value is changed from X to Y. For instance, I have a variable, increment variable called X. That will be incremented 1 through 10, and only I want to break at 8 execution, or when the variable is at 8. So we can add conditional break, and then that would rest assured that that will break only at the condition is met. For instance, in this case 8. You can set a breakpoint based on a variable changing as well. For instance, I have a variable that's being set as X to Y. Only on that change, or I would say I have a flag value in my script where that would change in a very specific condition when there is data available in the report and that report is being read. So in that case, this flag value that will be read at runtime will have a value of 1 or 0, and then only on change of this value we set a breakpoint. And also you can change the conditional breakpoint expression directly from the conditional breakpoint window. So we can always change the conditional breakpoints directly from the conditional breakpoint window when it's available, and then give the user a way to change the conditions at runtime. For instance, I have incremental variables at still 10. I want to increase it to 20 so that I can just keep a breakpoint when the variable is 20. The next set of enhancements to the developer workshop are you can add multiple reports or scripts to a project all at once. So previously we were able to add a single reports to the project. So now we can add a bunch of reports to the project at once. If the data report contains an image, the data report property window would display a preview of the image along with the other report properties. So based on the data that's being shown or that's being mapped in the developer workshop, the data will display its own properties of that report. The next is automatic workshop updates. The workshop can automatically check for a newer IC or the minor releases. When update is available, you can download the update and install it to the next time you start the workshop. Basically, you can be rest assured that the developer workshop would automatically update on its own if we have just the internet connection, and it would download the latest IC for you. With that, I'll just summarize. We have around 8 new features added and several enhancements to the BIS and as well as to the GA-BIS and the installation. With that, I'll hand over the presentation to Tanga. Tanga, you can take it.
Yeah. Thank you, Vishwa, for the detailed product update. I would just like to highlight the fact that Vishwa showed so many examples, and we found that, and we hope that you found it very useful. So we would like to highlight the fact that the presentation slides and the webinar will be posted in the unisys.com website, so that you could, if you want to check it out later also, it would be available for you. So with that, we'll move on to the next section. So the summary, I would just like to bring in the message that this is a versatile tool that has been delivering excellence over the last 4 decades, and we continue our innovation and our commitment with this very important product for Unisys with these new releases across multiple operating environments. With that, I would also like to highlight some of the white papers that we do have. We do have a recent white paper created, which basically talks about developing ICE applications for mobile devices. It talks about some good examples using jQuery, Ajax, and JSON. So there are very good examples. So if you have not read that earlier, please do check out the unisys.com website. Or these white papers are posted there. There are again a number of other white papers refreshed as well. And the links have been added there as well as part of the slide. And again, all these are there in the unisys.com, so please check them out. We do have a very good video as well that kind of highlights the value proposition of the product. Of course, a number of them are been using the product for decades, but there are a number of new younger developers and new executives who want to know about this product. So this video is very helpful for them to get to know what the value proposition in this product is. The URL is there, so please do check it out and pass it on to who may want to look into these videos. With that, we are pretty much coming to the close of this webinar. Would like to, in the slide, highlight some of the contact information whom you can reach out to. So please do reach out to us for any queries you have. We also have a new ID named as biz@unisys.com. Again, this ID is posted in the unisys.com website in the biz homepage. You may write to that email ID as well for any queries you have, in addition to the email IDs listed out here as well. With that, we come to the close of this presentation, and we're open for any questions that may be there from the audience.
Thank you, Thanga. And that does bring us to the Q&A portion of the presentation today. Again, if you do have any questions for our presenters, you can send those using the question box on the lower right-hand side of the control panel there. We have had a number of questions come across, again, asking about the recording and the slide deck. And again, everything is being recorded and will be made available on the Unisys website along with a copy of today's slides if you would like to download those. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look here. Next question we have is, will there be a trial version of 12.1?
Yes. So with the tradition that we have been keeping up with, the 11.1, we want to post a evaluation, which we call it as the evaluation edition, which is typically for 90 days. We want our customers to try the evaluation edition and try these new features, and then eventually move on to the production edition. So eventually, when the product becomes available, as we illustrated in Q2 of this year, when the product becomes available, the evaluation edition also will be posted onto the unisys.com website in the BIS homepage.
Excellent, thank you. And the next question we have is, when will software release announcement and documentation for BIS 12.1, 12R1 be available at the support site?
We hope to have it as soon as possible. At least we're prioritizing to see, to get the software release announcements done quicker. So we hope to have that soon.
Matt, I would just update. At the time of delivery, we will be updating the SRA and the required documents on the support website as well.
Excellent. Next question is, which current levels of BIS can be upgraded to BIS level 12.1, 12R1?
Right now, it's 11 only.
Okay. And looking here, getting a little close to time here, so this will probably be the last question that we have time for today. And that is there any plan about a runtime BIS?
Nothing at this point of time, I can tell you.
Okay. Then, as I mentioned, that is all the time that we do have for questions today. Again, if we didn't get to your questions during the live session, we will be following up with you directly via email, so definitely keep sending those through the end of the presentation here. At this point, I'd just like to throw it back to Thanga for any closing statements that you have for our audience.
Thank you so much for joining this webinar. We hope it was very informative to know about the new features. We are pretty much excited, and we hope you're also excited about this. Thank you very much.
All right. And thank you, Thanga and Vishwana, for another fantastic presentation. That does conclude today's event. The recorded version of today's webinar will be made available for download on the Unisys website along with the slide deck. And again, as you exit our webinar, please be sure to fill out a brief survey and give us your feedback. I would like to thank everyone for attending, and have a great day.